right, Matt, lease report. First, we've talked about rentals more than once on our show, and the various things that are impacting them. Where we're talking about, students, the amount of student visas being accepted going down, the amount of our NPRs going down, the amount of them leaving, and we pivot that to, of course, how does this impact investors that are owning these and renting them out? But at the same point, what does that mean for our market? So I'm glad that we're giving this the highlight that it deserves today. And before perhaps we get into it, where's your mindset been at when you've been taking the time to evaluate what's going on in the rental market?
I think that we've been building a lot of rental properties, not only purpose-built rentals, but also a lot of the condos are coming online as well. And we're starting to see the numbers show that we might be getting a little bit too much supply on the market. We also know that the federal government has come out and said that they're going to be scaling back non-permanent residents and also cutting back on how many people can come to the colleges and universities. So in certain areas, we're going to start seeing pullbacks where the bulk of these individuals might live. And were we building too much for certain areas that just aren't going to see those influxes of individuals? So that's something I'm keeping an eye on, because typically when housing is expensive, your rental market will pick up because people can't afford to buy. But we do have an expensive market where, because of interest rates, but we're seeing a softening in the rental market, and that's the intriguing thing for me right now to keep an eye on. Is we are seeing that softening right now.
Yeah. Okay, so when we take a look at York, we're seeing our median price come down that 3.8% month over month. Kind of same thing. We were at 2,800 previously, down to 2,790. Transaction volume up a little bit, which is a nice change when we're talking year over year, but up month over month as well. So we're actually seeing, who wants to move in the middle of winter? Well, here we are, December and January. We're seeing not bad numbers coming out. New listings are ticking up, and termination volume being up a little bit. Yeah, year over year, I get it. It's not usually that you get pricing that wrong on the rental market, but Matt, I think that's the story to look at. Is as we've looked across the board, like across Canada, even seeing those rental prices start to come down. Maybe there are a few people that are getting it wrong in terms of their advertising price for the rentals.
Yeah, I think. I think when we get to the active listing chart for the last 8 years, we're going to see that it's consistently having more and more
Yeah.
active listings piling up here, and it's getting to a point where the economy is a little bit shaky right now, and at the end of the day, I think we've piled up quite a bit of you can see prior to 2022, there was a very stable ebb and flow to the amount of listings that there was on the market. And now we've seen quite a big impact here, and it's starting to show up in the prices.
Yeah, like if this not scientific at all, but if I draw my trend line right through here, you can then see where we've gone, since 2022 in terms of active listings. And it's funny how directly that correlated with our interest rate increases, right? You've got investors that were likely on variables a lot of the time, and rates go up, and changes need to happen.
And again, if I was to draw those blue lines like we did with the months of inventory through the Januaries, typically these active listings are rolling over in January, but we're seeing an acceleration in active listings this January.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at our lease price, again, it trended upwards specifically through those years, right? Homeowners are paying higher prices, need to rent them out for more. And then we saw a little bit of stability start to happen there. And now we're seeing that downward dip just start to happen. It'll be interesting to see where this goes. I mean, at the end of the day, housing is still an issue. But I think when you look at a couple of key areas, this is going to get hit harder, right? And so I think that the overall trend, you will see this continue to move down just a little bit.
Yeah, and based on this chart, we peaked out just at the end of 2023 for rental prices.